Good evening, everyone. We're continuing with 4 minutes of Mishlei. We're up to Perek Yud, chapter 10 in Proverbs. And this chapter, this Perek, begins with a introduction, which seems like it's a separate, almost like a separate entry. It says, the beginning of the Sefer of Mishlei, it starts with those words. It says, Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael. Now in Perek Yud, Mishlei Shlomo ben Chacham Yisamach Av Levein Chtzil Tu Gagimo. That again, Mishlei Shlomo, the Proverbs of Shlomo. The wise son makes his father happy, and the foolish son is the grief of his mother. So it seems like it's almost like a new section of the Sefer. There's a theme in this Perek, which is very interesting. The Das Mikra points this out. There's like groupings of psukim, and each of those groupings have opposites. There's tzaddik and rasha, chacham and ksil, right? The righteous and the wicked, the smart and the foolish, and it kind of contrasts them and gives us a few different descriptions of what that person is like and what the profile of that person is. I want to focus on the contrast, which comes up a number of points, is the difference between the rasha and the tzaddik. In Pasuk Zayin, a very, very well-known pasuk. I'm not sure if I would argue this is the most well-known pasuk, but arguably one of the most well-known pasukim in all of Tanakh. Zecher tzaddik livracha, v'shem b'shoim yirkav. The memory of the righteous will be for a blessing, and the second part, people don't really know this one. The name of the wicked shall rot. We like to do things with words, so we make it into not just zecher tzaddik livracha, we say zatzal. Just like Chachamim Zichron Livracha is Chazal. But I guess we do that in English also, because it's not Beth Avram Yosef of Toronto congregation, it's Bayit. Or some people call it Bet, or the Beit, I don't know. Whatever, different to yourselves. But people say Zatzal. So Zatzal comes from this pasuk in Mishlei. And Rashi comments on that. Hamaskir Tzadik Mivarcho. You mention a Tzadik, it almost seems like Rashi saying, it's like automatic, like you should bless him, or you'll want to bless a tzaddik. Where does this come from that we say it after someone who's passed away? It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it. It doesn't say that in the pasuk. It doesn't say when the tzaddik passes away that you say he's blessed. So it's interesting. The Tur in Siman Kuf Chaf Dalid, he mentions that his father, the Rosh, said about Hashem, when he heard Hashem's name, he would say Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. If you're ever in a yeshiva that has influence from Brisk, for example, I know Rabbi Witty's nephew was in Reb Tzvi Kaplan's yeshiva. So I was once zochet to daven shachris there. Very interesting. I could talk to you about that for a while at a different time. They don't do Baruch Uvaruch Shemo. Briskers don't do it. It's a hefsik. But I guess the Rush wasn't a brisker. Sorry, but I digress. But the point is that he says, just if you say it, why would you say that? So he says, well, if we say by a basar v'dam, a tzaddik who's a basar v'dam, a human being who's righteous, we say zecher tzaddik livracha. We mention the person's name, we say livracha. It should be for a blessing. So then certainly by Hashem, we should say baruch hu baruch shemo. It doesn't say anything about passing away. So I don't want to alarm anyone if someone mentions a person's name. Zecher tzaddik livracha. Whoa! He's still alive, So I don't know. I didn't find really a source for that one. But we see this contrast of a rasha and a tzaddik. A tzaddik, it says in pasuk further on, pasuk tes zayin pu'ulas tzaddik l'chaim. Another thing, l'chaim, right? A tzaddik's actions are for life, and then it says, but tfuaz rasha l'chatas. But the increase, or some people translate it as the produce of the wicked you would expect it to say not l'chaim, l'mavis, it's for death, but it doesn't say that. It says l'chatas, for sin. Because the idea, I think, in this Perek, and this idea of tzadikim b'misasim nikru chaim, even in their death, they're called alive. And that's what we say, tzadik livracha, they're a blessing because they brought Chaim into the world, and therefore their life takes on greater significance. It transcends their actual chronological, biological time they were on this earth, because even in their death they're called Chaim because they lived a life of connected to Nitzchias. They lived a life that transcends the limited space of this world. And therefore the opposite of a tzaddik, a rasha's life, is not maves, it's actually chatas. Chatas, sin, doesn't just mean doing things that are wrong, it means that I'm limited, I'm connected not to nitzchias, I'm not connected to transcendent reality, I'm connected to a limited experience, and that's where the rasha, living only for the moment, only lives in this world, is not zochah to chaya olam haba, and the misasan, they're nikra and misasan, they're called dead, but a tzaddik, someone who connects herself to nitzchias, they're livracha for all eternity, they're for blessing, and they are nikru uchayim, they're called life, living even in their death.